What I've been up to here. It's SaaS apocalypse time, and I'm bringing it. All right, you've got a ton of companies out there, two, three, 500 people charging an arm and a leg for a solution that frankly doesn't update much. Well, Jellyfish, Flow, DX, these are engineering telemetry tools that are out in the market, and they have all proven to be inadequate for me. So I've had to build my own tools over the years, and I finally took those tools and turned them into a solution for myself, and then open it up to the public with this product on February 5th. So the big problem with these other tools, they don't track off the default branch, right? Main, master, that kind of thing. So you only get a partial look at what your team is doing. Only things that are kind of really making it into production are going to be shown. And that is woefully inadequate if you want to actually use this as a true leaderboard, right? If you think about it, every team has leaderboards: sales, marketing, ops, call centers, you name it, leaderboards. Why? Transparency and performance, right? You see where you stand. If you're not the top of the board or you're down below average, like it's inspirational to go do more. And engineering and product teams need that as well. So enter WarClick. Yes, WarClick. It's gamified in a way that resonates with engineers. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But essentially, sign in with GitHub, much like you would use Google to sign in, because that's where builders are at. They all have GitHub accounts. Sign in with GitHub. And so I'm going to demo this with, this is a real company, real data. All the information in it is obfuscated, obviously, right? So James Sampleton and whatnot. But rest assured, this is, I've got a bunch of companies that jumped right on when I opened this thing in February, and this is one of them. So let's take a look at this. So for starters, the leaderboard, there's a scoring system. I'll touch on that in a minute. Code reviews, berserkers are your pull requests, right? So that's like a done body of work, and your coding days, right? Any day that you have activity on GitHub counts as a coding day. Right now we're looking at a 7-day, but you can just do a quick 28-day, but period over period. How are you trending? Are you up? Are you down over that period? AI adoption, we'll spend a little time on that in a moment here. But what's neat about this is these leaderboards, once a company comes on, I see engineers like ship a body of work, like they're logging in, like how do I move? Where am I in terms of standing on this? And let's just get right to the punchline. When engineers, and frankly, your product people these days, because they're building too, when they're logging in every day because they're like trying to push themselves to the top, your output skyrockets. Now, I want to be fair. Output is not outcomes, right? Product still has to point them at the most valuable things for your business. But you know that if your engineering team is supercharged and you're building much faster, like you've got a freaking Hemi and you're driving harder than you've ever driven before, now it's just a matter of pointing them in the right direction to make sure you're getting those outcomes that you need. First thing I want to jump into that now that I've been live for a couple of months, I'm getting some amazing data is this ROI report, right? So I actually chose a company here that didn't see the most eye-popping results because frankly, they're unbelievable. But in this case here, we have a company that came on. So I always do things in 7-day batches. You'll see a lot of 7, 28s, and 91s in this system because weekends skew things, right? People don't work on weekends. So I'm always doing these in fair blocks. This company joined February 13th, 43 days ago. So divided by 7, 42 days. So I'm looking at the last 42 days versus the 42 days before WarClick. And we can see that their PRs more than doubled. Coding days more than doubled, right? Quick chart of those same two headline numbers. I mean, there's others here, but those same two numbers here, that's where they were installed. And you can just see this trend where, again, once you're observing yourself and you're being observed, if you're like, I had a lot of meetings today, I didn't feel like firing something up, you're like, no, like you're getting in and you're making some activity because you're trying to keep your position on the top of that leaderboard. Other types of activity, looking at it over the period, most importantly, by individual. This particular company has been hiring a bunch, so I've got some new people showing up, but you can just kind of break it down. This is everybody, but everybody's in here if you're in GitHub. Your engineers, DevOps, product managers, designers, maybe that's your leadership team. They don't want to like compare themselves to the engineers. So they kind of do the other thing. And you can just look at these numbers. It is amazing what happens when people start actually looking at their output. It's freaking so anyway, that's like the number one value prop here is just by putting the data out there where people see it, that alone drives an amazing amount of activity. The next huge thing that I really worked on for this last month and gotten really good at AI adoption. Every leader is being asked, like, you using AI? You're like, yeah, we're using AI. Like, how much? What's the ROI? I don't know. I pay for some subscriptions. Like, you don't know. I quantify it, right? So you have a variety of things. You can read the methodology, like, and how that works, kind of goes through it at a high level. But essentially, it boils down to two things. One, hard signals, right? Co-authored by Claude, done deal. Like, I know that that work came in with Claude involved. But heuristics have to play a big role because not all tools leave that, or people will remove it on purpose. And that's where you have to look at like the way the messages are written when you commit. Like I only pull metadata, never touches your code, but you look at those messages and you can see like AI has certain habits that humans don't, just things that humans don't do. Or you'll see like the frequency and the amount of lines of code, like there's a bunch of intelligence in this and it's gotten really, really good. So you can see what your adoption rate is, in this case, 18 to 24 warriors. Everyone's a warrior. Your teams are tribes. This is your clan. Again, it's like a Diablo 2 meets Clash of Clans to kind of gamify this for the engineers because it's important that we build a tool that's not just for leadership to watch over the team, but a tool that the team logs into and wants to drive their stats, their profiles. And we're going to look at the profiles in a minute. They're freaking sweet. So in this particular case, this company, you get to compare yourself to the rest of the platform. So their adoption is good, but they're below average for the platform. Although they do have something really good going for them here. Their product managers are all building, which I love to see. That's the way it's supposed to go. Bunch of additional stats. You can look at, your contributions by commit. So a little over a quarter of their commits are manual, but by absolute lines of code, what is it like? Oh, it's right there, 3%. So like, yeah, people may jump in on, let me touch up this, CSS or change this color here or there. That's a manual thing. So, but the actual lines of code, 97%, AI contributed to. Their AI trend. So this team really just started picking up on it a couple months ago. And you can see I have a lot of manual work. They've added some builders throughout, but then like strong signals, heavy usage of AI has really come on strong in the last 6 weeks. Again, by engineer or really by role, I should say, because you can dev, psychops, whatever. Um, each individual, what their role is, what their AI adoption rate is. You kind of see a gradient of it coming down, the tools that they use, and some of the stats, like where I know it's there, where it's likely, the totals. Uh, and these can just be kicked out to PDFs. So like, you got to report to your board or to your, executive team, what's going on. Boom, kick out the PDF. It looks just like this page. It's amazing and like mission accomplished. Most importantly, though, let's take a look at the profile page. There's so much going on in here that's amazing. Like, again, I built this based on years of my personal needs. I can't live without this thing. But let's just look at like an individual contributor here, right? So we've got a builder here, clearly a Claude user. We can see it looks like he took a little vacation here. So double cross swords, that's a commit that made it back to main. Single is just a commit that's still off main. Now, again, it takes time sometimes before these things PR and get back. So if you're using Jellyfish or one of these other products, you won't see most of this activity. You'll see some of it if they specifically name it, and it doesn't matter. But point is, you're going to be missing all this. You wouldn't really see much work at all this week. But in my tool, you can be like, oh, hell of a week. If you're using Jellyfish, you're like, what have you been up to? And you're like, I've been busy, I swear. Like, there's a difference. By percentile, how they rank in the team. So this particular team, 14 warriors. So compared to the other 13, where they stand each quartile. So you get that percentile stat on where they are, who they work with. So like someone's out of office, you're like, oh, let me call this person. Like they'll know exactly what's going on. Their score trends over time, along with their lines of code, kind of give you a feel for the flow and like when someone's hitting a lull. Activity heat maps. I can see this guy generally signs on around 8. Generally 3 to 4 o'clock, he's done, kicks in and looks like maybe after dinner, gets back in, does some work. I see some Saturday, Sunday work. That's sweet. All right. I'm going to sit down for a one-on-one and be like, hey, I've been getting after it on the weekends. Well, let's look at it. Well, you can look at those weekends. This is bacon ipsum, but you would actually see the repo the commit messages, and you can see exactly what they're up to. And you can analyze these guys. Now, this was Bacon Ipsum, so it's not going to be perfect, but this actually does an AI analysis of what they've been up to. You can see like the projects they're working on, what's going on, AI usage. These summaries are freaking awesome. Um, that's going to be like the skinny. I don't want to go like there's so much more in here. Your folks are all going to find useful like the table views. You can just kick it out to CSVs. Maybe you want to put salary information in because you want to like do some calculations. You're maybe looking at some changes in the business. The scores all dynamic, right? If you're like, hey, our cycle time's too slow, I've got to get the reviews up. Put more weight into reviews, right? Get that collaboration up. Or you're like, dude, I just need people to grind. I need them to just stay hands on keyboard. Like pump up the coding days, or I need real impact. Tier one commits on main, right? So you do tier your repos. Again, nobody else does this, but like this is my flagship product. These are the repos. You make a change on those, it's worth a hell of a lot more than some new repo you whipped up for a prototype. Like I don't care about that work as much. That might be a tier three repo. Again, I'm not going into all these details. Just know that like it's all been thought of. This was built based on my real world 30 years of leading engineers and what I needed. I can't live without it. So just wanted to share that with you. Talk to you later.